I'd like to call our Thursday, February 1st, 2018 Forest Lake Area Schools School Board meeting to order. Let's open up with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. If you have any questions about what we do at the school board meeting, there's some information over at the table if you'd like to speak on an agenda item during our scheduled and unscheduled visitors. Give me a green card with your name on it, and we'll give you 3 minutes. Member Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Member Corcoran is absent. Member Moorhead?
Here.
Member Peterson?
Here.
Member Odegaard?
Here.
Member Tyson is absent. Member Rayfield?
Present.
And Member Olson is present.
All right, scheduled and unscheduled visitors, listening session.
I will give that report.
Okay.
We had 4 attendees, Mr. Stoichi, Allison from Flea, Angela Nelson as a superintendent intern, and Kate Luther as a parent and potential school board running. We had discussion on budget concerns. We talked about the Linwood Community Conversation and life as a school board member.
Oh.
All right, thank you. All right, student achievement. Do we have our SEC music students?
Oh, such an amazing night.
Yeah, please.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for the invitation. We have members of our SEC All-Conference group here tonight with their instructors and conductors. We had an opportunity, and many of you were there as well, to attend that concert, and bar none, it was one of the best concerts of the year when you put this quality of student and musician together with our entire conference, with their leadership. It was outstanding. So with that, I'm going to let Mr. Gidley at the end introduce himself and his choir guys, and we'll give them a break on the walk.
I am John Guidry. I am the choir teacher at the high school. This is my first year here as a ranger, and I'm really glad to be here. It's been a really good start to the year, and I'm very thankful.
I'm Barry Zimmel. I think I know most of you, not all of you, and I'm the band teacher at the high school. And I got to say, not about me, but we're delighted that John is here, and it's been a great year with you so far. So
I'm Lauren Iviser, and I'm a part of the band and choir, and I play the clarinet.
I'm Spencer Codis. I'm in the orchestra.
I'm Zach Serwinski. I'm in the band and I play euphonium.
I'm Logan Olson, and I'm in the band and the choir. I play the trumpet and I sing bass.
I'm Maddie Hawkinson. I am in the choir and I sing alto.
I'm Sam McElhone. I'm in the band. I play baritone sax.
I'm Molly Lockton. I'm in the choir and I play soprano.
I am Bryce Melton, and I am in the choir and I am a tenor.
Dave Livermore. I teach the orchestra.
It's a
4 of us went, I think, and fabulous concert. It was very professional. Some of the songs just gave us goosebumps. You guys did a fantastic job.
absolutely. It was just breathtaking. You just wish that everyone could see and hear it. So I hope a lot of people buy the CD and share that because it was great. And the other good news is our our choir director, I heard many times throughout the evening that he was quite the hit. So your students are very fortunate to have the directors that you have, but you did the work and it was great.
Thank you.
No song tonight? No nothing?
Too short notice.
Bethel concert, what's the date?
April 6th.
April 6th.
April 6th.
Oh, that's another highlight.
Excellent.
Coming up.
That's
So,
another highlight.
It was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it.
It was Jeff's first, so.
It was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, it was worth the,
It was definitely worth the
Worth the
trip,
trip.
for sure.
yeah. And thank you so much for coming out on a cold night, just to let us tell you how great it was.
So, do you think the seniors in the group could just let us know what you're thinking of next year? What's coming up?
Ooh,
A lot of
wow.
seniors.
Right, yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, as far as future plans, I am planning on attending the University of Northwestern, majoring in psychology, and possibly minoring in child development.
I'm thinking of attending the United States Coast Guard Academy. I haven't decided what I'm going to major yet.
Good for you.
My major is somewhere between music and somewhere in the science field.
I'm thinking of attending either Luther College or Gustavus Adolphus College, and I will be probably majoring in biology and continuing with choir along the way.
I have I've gotten into 4 different colleges, still not sure what I want to do quite yet, but I'm hoping to do something either biology or chemistry and do choir as well.
I'm thinking of attending either the University of Minnesota Duluth or Twin Cities and majoring in speech and language pathology and minoring in American Sign Language.
All right, well, I want to say thanks for coming out and representing us at the concert, and you know, I hope you realize how much a music education, how much richness that brings to people's lives. I know my kids were both involved with the music program here at Forest Lake, and it's a really important part of our life now, and so I want to congratulate you guys, because I know it's a ton of work and it's a lot of effort, and you guys really put in the hours, but it's just an amazing opportunity to have to bring that kind of a ethic about music and culture into your life. And so thanks for coming out. I appreciate it.
That's for sure. Thank you for your
Thank you.
Such good representatives.
That was a nice surprise. Coming out.
Thank you for coming for the first.
All right, Wyoming Elementary, Principal Slater.
All right, thank you so much, school board, for letting me come and present. A couple of things before I get started. I had about 586 kids that wanted to come with me and about 87 staff, and I thought, what better way than to bring a little bit about what's going on at our school. So a couple things that you'll have is you have 2 packets with you. The one packet is really around our community school, and I think that they're stapled together. And the reason I presented that is that I do not have enough time to give thanks to all the people that make Wyoming a great place. But the article sums up a little bit about why we are a community school and what that really means in the sense of when we talk about community schools. So again, I'm super excited. Before I get too far into it, I do want to say we are blessed at Wyoming to have an amazing school district that sponsors us. We are always a phone call away over here at the district office, no matter if we're trying to get a hold of Dr. Massey or another person. The support staff's really amazing. We're paper thin, but we definitely know how to team it up. And you know when you're on a team that's in the trenches together, because we always have each other's back. So a little bit about our school. That is our school picture. We were represented by the state of Minnesota as a distinguished PBIS school. I do want to give thanks to our PTA that each and every year have really stepped up and made sure that we had shirts for our kids. I know a shirt doesn't sound like a lot, but it's like going out for a youth basketball team and you don't have a jersey. Our kids look forward to them. The reason you'll see all the different colors is our students said, you know, as we get older, we should be a little bit more distinguished. So each grade level had a couple representatives with their shirt. They all have the same message, different graduation year. And then you can see the staff in red. So one thing I'll tell you is if you really want to follow us, what we're doing, it's not about tonight in 10 minutes. It's really about following us on social media. We try to do the very best that we can, knowing that schools have to get better at marketing. And I think that Wyoming understands that, and we do our very best to get information out, not only to our families, what's going on, but people in Stacy know what's going on in North Branch and Centennial and those other places of the things that we're doing. And I'll share a little bit about how cool it is to see the ripple effect. As the choir was talking to you, I had a school in Waconia tweet out to Kathy Wright, who created this 100-day activity with their students around red Solo cups, and the kids had to stack them up, do a pyramid of red, and they followed us on Twitter, and then their school had indoor recess today, and they had a competition to see if they could get up to 100 like Kathy Wright's class. So when you see the ripple effect of other schools learning from us, it's a pretty powerful thing. So as we talk about why we go to school, we're setting goals for each other. It's really about learning. So you can see our 2 goals. We definitely do not need 2 goals from the state perspective, but our staff this year really felt that just having 1 goal, we didn't want to leave something out. So this year our main goal around our QComp goal is math, and it's a 2-tier goal, but really it's only 1 tier in the sense of state. And that 64% of our students tested in 2017 fall A math session at Wyoming who scored below the 85th percentile will meet or exceed their predicted growth by spring. Really focusing on those kids that are not quite there yet. Also knowing that the second tier of our goal is not to leave out the kids that are in the 85th percentile or above. So really, we are honoring that from a school's perspective. And again, then you can see kind of our reading part. So those goals are created by a team of teachers and the administrators working with them. So this is not an administrative-led process, but we have a professional development team that works around these things. So when you set goals, how do you accomplish those goals? And a lot of that is around the curriculum. So we have really looked at our Tier 1 curriculum and how does it support our students. And we've spent a lot of time this year and the last year and the year before that around PLCs and education as professional learning communities. Really giving teachers the time that they need to start talking about the curriculum, talking about their students, and the students that are responding or not responding to the curriculum. And sometimes when students are not responding, we quickly can blame the student or the teacher, but sometimes what we find is it's kind of it's a medicine. It's not one size fits all, and it's not that we can go that route. But we really want our teachers and our students, when they go into class, to really know what's expected of them. What should I be learning? And those are the learning objectives. Those learning objectives come from our state standards. So it's not like, again, that we're just grabbing these out on a whim, saying, you know what, I love poetry, I'm going to teach a poetry unit. It's really looking at our state standards and then drilling down, how is this going to look in a classroom lesson, and then how are we able to measure that? So as we look at those different things, you need professional development. And that's when I know that in Forest Lake, I've really been blessed to be working in the trenches. Dennis Sharon is on the left working with the staff. He wrote a book called Instant Relevance. The whole book is how in education, when we make things real, kids get excited. So when they know that, hey, we're going to have a winter storm and they're saying it's going to be 12 to 14 inches of snow, what is a ton of snow? And that's one of the examples. And what was great about, we reached Dennis through Twitter, and he was pretty expensive to come out, but I housed him at my house. I picked him up at the airport. I brought him fishing, and he dropped his price in half. So we had him in Minnesota for 2 days in September, and he just shared so many resources with our teachers. It wasn't just a one-day training. It was really that connection that many of our teachers still have with him, and through Twitter are able to get other ideas. He was just out in Palm Springs presenting, and 3 of the teachers kind of followed him on a Skype chat where they had a chance to see him presenting out there. We didn't have to go to San Diego on that. We also just had Lori Ostas in for some professional development district-wide. So we had I think it was over like 290 teachers at Vanelli's. Again, Diane Georgie gets a lot of credit for that. Another nationally known speaker comes to town. But what's cool is when she comes to town and she gets to see some of the great things our teachers are doing, she is now putting some of our stuff in her presentation to continue. So we know that we have amazing teachers doing great things, but we also know that we need the professional development around that so teachers can get better at their craft. And many times that is just small little ripples that we need to make. And sometimes it's a pretty big overhaul. But it has been powerful because all of the elementaries have been on the same scope and sequence with reciprocal teaching. And we've all really spent our time as our staff meetings to make sure we support the teachers in the process versus a train and hope process where we do it once and we hope that everyone gets it, but really kind of going back to that. So then what does that look like? One of the pieces that we know is that it's sometimes hard to be a prophet where you live. But we do know that we have amazing teachers in our buildings every day. So our staff has really put a strong focus on a pineapple chart. A pineapple chart is a really easy way for teachers to share what they're doing in a class and then teachers stopping in to see that. It's awkward to invite someone in. So it's really awkward for me to call Dr. Massey and say, hey, will you come over tomorrow at 9:25? I really want you to watch me as I interact with this teacher around their performance evaluation. But if I say, hey, Dr. Massey, if you could easily stop over, we're doing Mary Math this today, and just get an opportunity to stop in and give us some feedback on what you're seeing. But it's a really informal process, and it's being used around the country. And for many of our teachers, they're finding that if I'm struggling with something as simple as using a Google Doc in the classroom, and there's another teacher using that they can go through this. So this is something that's within our building. So a little bit just around, everyone knows that the pineapple means welcome. So each one of the teachers actually has a pineapple sign outside of their classroom, and if they have a welcoming, they're able to use a whiteboard marker and put what they're doing, so that teachers know when they could stop in. So we had a 6th grade teacher doing a mystery Skype. A mystery Skype's where you get to Skype with another school, and they use social studies and geography to figure out where that school is located. So you're asking questions back and forth. So that teacher put that out. I think 5 teachers showed up in their classroom within that 40 minutes to see some of that stuff. So again, it goes back to, as we get this professional development, now letting that hit the road. What does that look like for our teachers in a variety of ways? Sometimes it's our Merry Math going on. Sometimes it's really just community events. We have a family fun run. There's no profit. We're not trying to make money on that. Our teachers put that on just really to get the community in and to start having those conversations on how things are going. So you can see the teachers, not only are they having fun, but they're building relationships with kids. And we all know that's the foundation of learning, is that you have to think people care about you in order to kind of get to the depths of it. So I grabbed this one because
That's a scary shot.
I know that, yeah, it was a quick photo. So I thought, why not put that up on the wall? Have some fun with Karen.
I could have given you some reasons.
I know you could, Karen, but someone said I had to just keep you on your toes. So when we talk about that professional development, and we really look at the impact on student learning. In your packet, you'll have a chance to see some data around a process that's called flexible grouping. And it's where teachers use the data around pre-assessments and post-assessments to gauge where kids are at. It is not, what would I say? For some people, sometimes when you talk about flexible grouping, they're like, well, we've been flexible grouping for years. This isn't something that's stagnant. This is alive. So this is something that's happening every couple weeks. Kids can move in and out of these groups. And it's not where, when we start off with having a student that right now 6th grade starting geometry. So students take a baseline assessment around that, but in your packet, you'll see the data that a 2nd grade team is getting with it, and it's not only helping the students that are struggling, it's really helping every single student in the sense around their education. So we really want to make sure that there is that ripple effect. I'm going to leave this here, and I'll pick it up tomorrow, but what you're seeing in front of you on this table is all the 3D printing that's going on at our school. So we wrote a grant last year. We have 3 mini lots, 3D printers, and I love when people say, so what? There's an elephant there. So what? There's a cactus. The part that's cool is when a kid gets an opportunity to see the 3D printer make the elephant and they're studying Africa. Now name it. What are some characteristics about it? And I've had a chance to watch some 2nd graders just go crazy about this little red dog. This was the very first thing that we printed. A teacher brought it into her classroom and said, we have to come up with a name for this dog and characteristics for this dog. And to watch kids, there are kids still writing books about this red dog and a variety of names. So that's the power of knowing that that's also their life. By the time they're our age, my age, which I'm older than some of you, but at 47, most adults will have a 3D printer in their home. Like we have a colored 3D printer because you'll be able to make parts that break. And so as the cost comes down, but you're going to have a chance to see all this, and I brought it because the kids were excited about it, and it's one of the things when I asked them, what do you want me to share? It was definitely about that. One of the things I do want to share about that picture is that's Dorothy on the top, and she's one of our reading buddies. We have over 14 reading buddies that come from a local church that we've been teaming up with that come in every single week to read. Wow. And I asked them what they like about it. They're like, these kids make me feel young. So not only do the kids look forward to them coming, but we look forward. And you're going to see that she has kind of a lime green shirt on. That shirt says Roar. On the back it says Reading Buddy 2017. We want to also celebrate them into our community. And we know that they're making a difference. So all of those different things are happening. And then we talk about building, in that variety of building. Our PTA is amazing. We have kind of had this vision this year to get a 6th grade and 5th grade 1-to-1. All of our 5th grade students this year and all of our 6th grade students have a 1-to-1 device. They have Chromebooks. The teachers are learning how to use Google Classroom. And we're very excited to also let you know that other grade levels have the Chromebooks. It's not 1-to-1, but they have enough to start giving the kids some of the skills that they'll need around the digital 21st century skills that they're working on. So I need your help, and I will send this presentation so all of you can get it. But today is the start of I Love to Read Month. And so that QR code up there, if you have that on your phone, you could scan that. That's going to bring right to a Flipgrid. And what we're doing is, I was down last night on Nicollet Mall. I got Perk at Play at least to take a picture. I'm tweeting with them to see if I can get them to read a book. But our goal is to try to get 200 to 300 people reading books to kids, your favorite children's book. And then we'd have a library, because we know some of our kids go home and they don't have someone to read to them. Or we know that some of the kids would love to see pick a Minnesota Twin, I don't care who you pick, they would love to see someone read them a book. So we're on this mission to see what we can do. I'm not guaranteeing anything. So when you get this and you get home, it's as simple as turning your phone on, you click on that link, it'll bring you right to the site, you click on a button, you create a video, and it's super easy, but it is some technology using Flipgrid. So any questions that you guys have, and again, ways to connect with us.
Wow. Just do such a good job.
Come on, Rob. No, Jeff, come on, you have to have something on me. Some good question.
Well, I don't know that I want to bring it up here. No. Wyoming's been great. My son attends Wyoming, and it's been a lot of fun. All three of my kids have gone through there. My older two, but currently Bodie's there, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Good.
How do you think that, like, let's say some of these things you're doing are really working out great, and you're getting those math scores up. How do you share that with other elementaries, and how do you find out from other elementaries what they're doing well?
Yeah, the part that I'll say to you, Rob, that I just use over and over again is Twitter. You know, the sense I'm able to grab and share so many things out that we're doing, in the sense of, we've shared the article around reciprocal teaching with several other elementaries. I think we've had a total of 9 different schools come and visit our school for a variety of reasons. But it is, for me, is the #1 professional tool that I have, not only sharing out the great things we're doing, but also then connecting with other people that have some other ideas. So the part I want to continue to get better at is where we're still struggling, is that when we have, let's say, a really strong 4th grade team that's doing great things, how do I build that confidence so that they're willing to do a fishbowl activity in front of the rest of the staff to say, come on, you have the data to support this. Go out and share. No, I don't want to, and that's just the Minnesota nice way. But I think that's the big key. I think that a lot of schools and districts have to feel like we have to go to San Diego or Florida, and those conferences don't hurt. But also that we have experts we have amazing staff right in our buildings and in our district. And I think that's the bigger question of how to build that up so that they feel like they can really share and be proud of their data, versus kind of feeling like, well, just leave me alone. I'm doing well in my room, but I want to keep that door closed. So we're really trying to knock on the doors. But great question.
And elementary principals meet in a PLC on a regular basis, where you're sharing ideas and working off of each other as well.
Yeah, and we spent a lot of time, usually it's on Tuesday mornings, about an hour and a half, and a lot of our time has really been around that instructional leadership. What can we do, like right now, what can we do around reciprocal teaching and the next step? So we've already started the conversation. Lori probably just got home to California, Oscus, the author, and we've already probably had several conversations, not only as an elementary PLC, but also connecting with Diane Georgie and Heidi Lee and some of our other district support to say, what's our next steps? Our teachers loved that day, and some of them had a chance to grab some great little tidbits. And so we want to build off that. So yeah, so Dr. Massey is totally right that we're learning from each other around that. One of the things that we're shooting for in April, I don't know if we'll be able to pull it totally off, is an ed camp. An ed camp is where you come into a room, and hopefully we can get as many of our elementary teachers that want to take part in it. You throw out a topic like 3D printer, and if you're interested in that, we're going to meet in room 102. No one's the expert, but it's ability for teachers really to have this personal drive on what they're interested in, and then that would be an ed camp conference that we'd like to make happen in April for one of our professional development days.
Yeah, great.
I was tired of hearing this story, but I met him before he actually started work, because I was volunteering down at the city, at the park, and we had this trash can that was overflowing, and we're all going, when are we going to get that? We couldn't put any more trash in there. And he comes up and introduces himself, and what can I do to help? And I said, well, nothing, because we're fine, but we've got this trash. And, well, I'll take care of it. I said, well, okay, but we don't have any more bags. And so we kind of blew it off. Pretty soon he's back with bags, taking the trash out, putting the new bag in. I said, I could already tell we had one of the best principals ever coming, to think ahead and want to make something better before you were even in the classroom or in the school.
Thanks, Karen.
So appreciate that. That's why you're nominated for big awards.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, well, I'd like to thank you for coming out, and be sure to, give our thanks, to your staff for the great work they're doing, and we really appreciate it. It makes our job a lot easier.
Yeah. Well, and one last gift that's you're going to be getting, we're working on it, but we will be creating a Flipgrid for the school board where kids can talk about what they like about our school and our staff. And I'll send that to you, and then all of the videos will be in one spot where you can view them. So it will be an opportunity for you to hear a little bit more from the student and staff voice.
Great. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
All right, positive happenings. Member Olson, you want to start?
Pull my list up. Here we go. Okay, positive happenings. I did a tour of the Career and Tech Center at 916. I would highly recommend that. It's amazing. I went to the MSBA convention. That was also wonderful. I went to a boys basketball game, a girls hockey game on senior night, and the SEC concert at Stillwater High School.
Well, Member Moorhead?
Again, we were lucky and blessed to go together for the MSBA conference, which was good. I also attended the Marnitas table, that's how you pronounce it. A year ago or more, Linda had gathered a group of citizens together to talk about different situations that might come up in the community and how we can work together to make it better. And somehow they heard about this Marnitas table, and it was hosted by the YMCA and had a variety of people there to do just that. Sit at tables only for 20 minutes, and then you had to move on and talk to another group. So you got to know a lot of people that were younger, older, or different looking than us, and it was just a very positive thing to have happened. I think they're maybe going to have, maybe not that thing, but more of those events. So I would encourage you to go. I did go to 3 basketball games, and they won all 3. And I also was there for the JV game before I came here, and they won that tonight against North. So I guess I just have to sit at the basketball games. Scandia PTO Equity Alliance meeting, and then 3 times I went to human trafficking seminars, and we'll probably take that on for the Rotary because I've learned so much. You think you know a lot, and then you go to these sessions and find out how much activity there is out there and what we should be looking for and how we can be proactive. So I'm very excited to maybe come back and bring something to the school. I think they're working with the administrators. Someone said that they had had some sessions.
Yep.
So, and again, the music festival, which was wonderful, and was able to go to the Linwood Conversation. And again, I'm sure we'll report on that later, but it was well done.
All right, thank you.
So I also attended MSBA, which was it's a phenomenal opportunity for us to learn a bunch about what's going on out there. And I also had the privilege of being a presenter at one of the roundtables on the pathway to apprenticeship, which was a lot of fun. I went to the SEC Music Festival, which was amazing. I mean, I can't say enough about how much fun that was. It's the first one I went to, and I really enjoyed it. I've also attended several 4th grade basketball games, which are always fun, and was at the Linwood Community Conversation as well, which we got a lot of great feedback from the community, and I really enjoyed and hope that community members in the other areas take the time to come out and have a conversation.
It's been work, go home, try and sleep, and repeat. That's about it for me. I'm really tired.
All right, thank you. Reports. So one of the things we've talked about adding to reports is kind of a time where we can talk, bring up issues with, or things we've learned from workshops and conference. And I don't think we're looking at it as, a long explanation of everything that you've done at a conference. But if you go to a conference and you find a topic that's, that you would like to share, this would be a good time to do it. And so, is there anybody who would?
I'll start.
Yeah.
I went to one called Partnership in Education, and the tagline was how to get parents more involved, so that really struck me as important. But this particular session really just focused on parents in PTAs So I was a little disappointed in that, but it did give some good insight of how to communicate, parent engagement, and advocacy that I kind of feel we're already touching all of these, but it might give us a little bit more in-depth ways that we can reach out to parents.
Member Moorhead?
Yeah, I went to the Transgender and Transition and learned about the laws, guidelines, and perspectives that continue to evolve in Minnesota and across the nation. And it gave suggestions to help better understand the complexity of these issues. I went to a culturally responsive leadership group. Jean Lubke from Equity Alliance was part of that and did a great job. Citizen rights update, was a Dear Colleague letter that was withdrawn by the Trump administration, so there's some changes that were done with that, and we should always keep up to speed on that. The highlight of it, though, and I know some weren't able to go back on Friday, they had an opening speaker and a closing speaker, and the closing speaker was Manny Scott, and his story is a 2007 movie called Freedom Writer. And I have yet to bring that up, but I want to make sure I get to see that. He was so outstanding, and he just really gave us the reason why we do this and how much we can influence kids, and not only just the good kids, but the kids that are really, really struggling, and how one person can change the life, and that's what happened with him. And he had a story that would break your heart, and now he goes around everywhere telling and instructing people on how what to look for with kids and not to leave anyone behind, because you never know what that one is. And so I just can't tell you enough to look up Freedom Writer. He said that the character in there would be Marcus, that would be the one that would be most like him. And yeah, it's kind of like the SEC conference. You go out of there and I could have just listened to him all day and learned so much from him that it was worth it just for that.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All right, Communications Committee, Member Olson.
We talked about the Lakes Area Expo, which is on Saturday, March 24th at Maranatha. I believe there will be a bunch of vendors. Our community ed might be there as well, so that sounded like a good event to attend from 9 to 1:30. We reviewed community conversations and how we were getting the word out to community and parents. Ross gave a legislative update, and Corey gave a communication education update.
Okay, and 9:16?
Yes. It's my first board meeting on 9/16. It was quite lengthy, but very, very informative. I'll just highlight a couple things. They did an equity update. We saw a movie it's called The Whole Story, documentary style training film about children's mental health. That was fantastic. And Teresa Wallace gave a talk about a summer workshop series called Proactive Measures that they hope to engage all member districts in.
All right, thank you. Equity Alliance, Minnesota, Member Moorhead.
Pretty much the same as us. We had our election of officers, and there are now 6 districts and 2 students that are on the board. I was on the Personnel and Policy Committee, and we had our audit report, which came in very, very well. And again, thanks to Jean and the new business model that we're using, it's still in pretty good shape. They had a legislative report, and they approved the executive director contract for year 2, which ends in June on the 19th, and accepted a August 16th letter from Inver Grove Heights that they're going to extend their membership. So that was very good news, because the more members we have, of course, the better we can work together and get more done. So that was pretty much it. Oh, they gave an update on Reimagine Minnesota too. Have you ever been involved with that at all?
Yeah, that's the MSDA association primarily, so the metro area school districts. But I've been part of a number of conversations, especially through Equity Alliance and our meetings there.
I've set some
really good work there.
pretty hefty goals, and it'll
Yes.
be nice to see how many of them now are actually played out.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
Okay, thank you. Policy Committee, Member Peterson.
Yeah, we had discussion on the website accessibility policy. We also had discussion on adding the email to the student directory for the student records policy, and also had the discussion on the harassment and violence policy.
All right, thank you. Staff welfare, we had a legislative update. Heard about what we were trying to do with our agenda that we looked at earlier. We had a referendum review. We did budget and staff planning update and a construction update. Finance Committee, Member Odegaard.
Just one item we had on the agenda for the Finance Committee to review the fiscal year 18 budget. From an expense standpoint, our run rate is tracking right where it should be, very similar to the last 2 years. So that's looking good. From a revenue standpoint, probably looking at a minor revenue adjustment, only related to long-term facilities maintenance funding, so it won't impact the general expenditures or revenues at all. So that will probably be coming to us at the March meeting, maybe in April. And that was it.
All right, thank you. City of Forest Lake, Member Moorhead.
I'm going to pass this out. I took it off of the computer, and it's their schedule for the entire year, and it shows all of the different committee meetings that they'll be having, and it's just good to have it in your home. They have city council meetings, et cetera, on there, and I think the more we can work together with them, someday is my dream that that's what will be best for everybody. They also are having upcoming community conversations, and on January 3rd, they had one on land use and transportation. January 30th, land use and transportation. February 13th, it's on housing, community facilities, and water resources. February 20th, it's on parks and trails. And February 27th, economic competitiveness. Now, some of that, the Forest Lake one is on February 27th that we're going to have, so we have a little competition there. But the administrator has now gone. He had his last day on Tuesday. And Dan is the interim. I'm not sure if they're going to look for an outside, you are going to look for an outside consultant to fill that spot. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
All right, thank you. All right, Buildings and Grounds, Member Peterson.
We had a bond project update, which I won't get into extensively since we're about to get a presentation on it. We also got an update on the upcoming Highway 35 project for the summer, which is, for those of you who commute down 35, will be unpleasant.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bill gave us a report on the southwest pool lighting needs and drain repair, and we were dealing with some water issues at Forest Lake and a condensation issue in the new bus barn, as well as floor issues in the high school floor courtyard on the bond project. So not all good news, but things were definitely getting taken care of. So
that's the good news.
Great. All right, Reshaping Opportunities for Success 2015-2020. We have Chad Martin from Martin Pevsner and Mark DuBois from Cross Anderson.
Nope. Craig O'Brien.
What?
Not Cross, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm Chad from Martin Pevsner, Spark. We are representing two design firms and teams that are really excited to be sharing these with you, sharing some visuals with you, and to be working on this project. So I'm going to let Mark take over for the most part, but we'll be talking a little bit about the improvements to the elementaries.
So as Chad mentioned, his firm and our firm, as well as Cross Anderson, have been working in the district since the passing of the referendum in November of 2015. And we are currently in the construction phase for Lino Lakes Elementary and are about to start into at Scandia and then move into Linwood. And so we just wanted to kind of share a little bit of the status, where things are at. There's weekly construction meetings that have been going on, both with the secondary and elementary schools. Thursday is kind of our day at Lino, and Scandia and Linwood will be beginning their construction meetings soon. The first one to look at is Lino Lakes. If you remember, this is what it used to look like before the backhoe hit last summer. And the current status of it, the courtyard has been basically built out And some of these pictures are showing the status of the construction within the courtyard. Most people, even the students and the staff, aren't necessarily aware of all that's going in there because they're holding class all around the perimeter of this. But the classrooms, there are 6 classrooms that are being built in the courtyard. There's a new bathroom grouping that's in the courtyard, and there's a large commons area that's being worked on in the front that you can start to see take shape. Despite what you see here, the intention of the contractors is that probably within the next couple of weeks, the whole courtyard area will be ready for what we call a punch list, in which all the finishes are there, and we as a design team walk around and kind of pick out the few remaining pieces that need to be done. So it is really starting to take shape. Chime in about it.
Yeah, the systems are going in this part of the building too. The big push, we're going to get to this point, but the big push is going to be the upcoming summer in the existing parts of the building surrounding this from a system standpoint, and then polishing it up from there. So you can see a lot of the guts of the building here, but it should be a very neat impression, especially for a STEM building when it's finished.
A lot of those systems that are normally hidden behind ceilings and walls are being partially exposed in this building, partly as a design aesthetic, but also to help the students and the staff understand a little bit more about how buildings come together, how systems fit together and work. And so we're kind of excited about some of these big yellow ducts and painted steel columns and things like that that will help everyone understand a little bit more about buildings. The outside is also progressing. Of course, the weather puts a damper on that to some degree, but if you've driven by recently, you've started to see the brickwork is complete, the windows are on, metal panels are going on, and probably within a month or so, the glass will replace the plywood. And again, over the summer will be a complete remodeled remainder of the interior space as well as the whole site. So there's still yet quite a bit to do. And then at the end, this is a rendering of what the final front will look like by the time everybody arrives back at school in the fall. The next site that we're moving into is Scandia Elementary, and you may or may not know that the work started, construction work started there last fall. Over on the east side, the foundations were laid for an addition that will house the new mechanical systems.
Yeah, primarily mechanical systems, but there is some extra support spaces there. And then, so what you're seeing now is obviously a 3D rendering that Mark's team builds as part of the design process. So what you can see is what you saw was the existing. Now what you're seeing is the progress through the end of the school year. We'll try not to make too much noise, but. Where they're going to be starting to build the walls and the rest of the structure for that addition, the new addition you see there. And then they're going to be gutting and starting to remodel that north wing, as we say. We call it the 60s. The wing was built in the 60s. So, and then what you see on top there is going to house the distribution ductwork for the new ventilation system.
So again, the work will be beginning on the east side, the addition, and then the remodel inside the 1960s wing, starting at spring break this year. So all Principal Greiman and her staff is moving out of this wing around spring break, and they'll be housed temporarily in the remainder of the building for March, April, and May. And then when they come back, the remainder of the school will have gone through a renovation, a new front entry, new secure entry, new front offices, renovated classrooms, hallways, restrooms, a major interior remodel. And so, again, by the time students and staff arrive at the end of August, beginning of September, we'll have wrapped up the construction at Scandia Elementary. Also this summer is the work at Linwood Elementary. It's going to be starting in June. Once everybody vacates it, the center section of the building, the oldest section, will be demolished. Very similar in scope and approach to what happened at Lino Lakes Elementary. And because of the extensiveness of this, again, this project will be a 2-summer or 2-year project. So beginning in the summer of 18, this portion of the building will be taken down. And through the summer, they'll be starting to reconstruct the center. The first step will be to rebuild a hallway that connects the two sides of the building that will remain. And then throughout the school year in the fall and into the winter, that building will be built over the top of that hallway. And then by the time school gets out in June of 2019, the old 1970 portion of the building will be totally gutted and remodeled inside. So that by the end of the summer of 19, Linwood will be complete. And then we move on to Wyoming.
All right.
So again, just to quickly recap where things are at, Lino Lakes is moving into what I guess we would say phase 2. Will continue on through the winter, spring, and summer and be complete. Scandia, the first phase is complete. That was the foundations for the east side. Phase 2 will be the remainder of the work, the addition on the east side, and all the interior remodels. Linwood Phase 1 will start as soon as school is out. Summer, we'll be having Lino Lakes, Linwood, and Scandia under construction. And then in the summer of 2019, Linwood will finish up, and Wyoming will be worked on as well. So it's been a full ride since November 4th or 5th of 2015 until now, and we've got another couple of years to wrap up all the elementaries throughout the district. So we appreciate you guys putting your trust in us to design, and Kraus Anderson to assist in the construction of this, and it's been great.
All right, any questions? Go ahead.
Not a question, but a comment that when I was at the PTO in Scandia, they were just so happy with the way you work with them, and they're going to have a little disruption, but they realize what's coming and they're very willing to do it. But the comment was how well all of the people work with them about working around things. And I've said that before from the board table. I feel like your companies almost act like family with us, that you're really concerned about doing a good job, and so far so good. Thank you.
That's our goal.
Can't
All right.
wait.
All right, any other comments? If not, I appreciate you coming out tonight, and it's pretty exciting to see all the work.
It is.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, Superintendent's
Well,
report.
I'm going to jump on and just acknowledge Mark and Chad for just a quick minute. The architectural design that Mark and his team have brought to all of our projects, and you see that at Columbus on full display, and the design work you saw here tonight, the eye for the architectural components is really, really impressive. Our buildings are being transformed over the course of these number of years. We're not just building some classrooms and putting down carpet and paint. We're really creating buildings with character. And Mark and his team deserve a lot of credit. And Martin Pedzner, with Chad's leadership and his team and their attention to the mechanical pieces and their stewardship around the resources that the community is entrusted on this project, finding the most efficient way to spend the money wisely, and really safeguarding those resources. It's been really impressive. They have our interest clearly at heart and at the forefront. So amazing work. We really appreciate it.
Very much.
I'd also like to acknowledge Kurt and his leadership at Wyoming, and thank you for your presentation. The energy that Kurt brings here is the energy he brings every day at Wyoming. It is infectious, whether it's music when kids are getting off the bus or lively things in the hallway, but it's always a focus on learning, and Kurt's leadership is enormously impressive and greatly appreciated. So thanks, Kurt and your team at Wyoming. Some really good work. Barry and John and Dave have already left, but Karen, you said it. We have some of the best music staff, not just at the high school, but throughout the district. And that's was on full display on Monday night. Some extraordinarily talented instructors who connect with kids and get kids to do amazing things. So I would like to, without them here anyway, acknowledge their hard work and significant talent that they bring to the classroom. On behalf of the district, I'd like to extend our sincere condolences to the family of Alan Geisencotter, who was a second grader at Columbus Elementary. Alan was, as you know, because we've communicated about this, was struck by a snowmobile last Friday evening and tragically died of those injuries Wednesday afternoon. I would like to extend our thoughts and support to the staff at Columbus as well. Principal Neil Fox and his entire staff have done a remarkable job of coming together as a community, offering support for the students and their families. Alan was a charming boy with an infectious smile, as you can see here, and he will be dearly missed. We've talked a number of times tonight about the community conversation at Linwood, Linwood Senior and Community Center, and we had conversation, if you remember, about whether we should bring the community into our schools or we should go to the community, and we landed on going to the community, and I think it was a really wise choice. We had, I believe, 12 community members at the meeting, and it was hard to gather whether or not they all voted yes or kind of a mix. I would suspect a mix. But they were very constructive questions, comments, observations, if not even suggestions. So if the future meetings that we have coming up, and I'll list them in just a minute, are just as fruitful as one we had in Linwood, we are going to have a wealth of information for us to work with and the opportunity to engage the community around our needs and where we're at as a district. So I'd like to thank Jeff and Gail and Karen who were at that meeting. I know the rest of you are scheduled for the meetings coming up, including Columbus City Hall on Monday, February 5th at 6 p.m. Lino Lake City Hall on Monday, February 12th, 6 p.m. We're in Wyoming at Split Rocks on February 20th at 6 p.m. Out in Scandia at the Community Center on February 26th at 6, and here in Forest Lake at the American Legion on February 20th. 27th. Each of these communities are pushing these meetings through their communication mechanisms, whether it be their email listservs or their social media pieces, not to mention the communication we're doing in the district and the paper as well. So we'll continue to advertise and push and hopefully continue to have rich and lively conversations.
Mr. Chairman, may I just add too that Dr. Massey was so well prepared and he brought just the right amount of information to share, and he answered their questions very, very well. So it was a great meeting, and thank you for setting it up.
You're welcome. Thank you for that. It's probably really appropriate that I spend a little bit of time, not much, but a little bit of time acknowledging the work that our elementary staff and secondary staff were engaged with around reciprocal teaching. Principal Slater talked about that just a little bit ago, but all of our elementary teachers on Monday spent half a day with Lori Askis. To build a little context there, you've heard Diane talk about and me talk about the work that's been done thus far around literacy and math. with working with our current standards, prioritizing those standards, building learning targets. That's the framework and infrastructure around what it is kids should know and what those targets are. The next piece of that is building that capacity within our staff and giving them the proper and appropriate tools that are research-based and effective to move kids along learning. And Lori is a national trainer and researcher and author around reciprocal teaching. I won't get into all the details, but a very research-based and proven effective method for teaching. It's built on a foundation of teaching and learning, including think aloud, scaffolding, metacognition, and cooperative learning. Again, we'll need a few hours to engage you in a class around each of those, but suffice it to say that it's building the framework through which our teachers are engaging kids in learning. And then what is reciprocal teaching? Lori's kind of coined through her research what she calls the Fab Four, which is as kids read, helping them predict what's going to happen in the text and pre-reading, ask questions about the reading and their thinking as they're working their way through the text, clarify information and pieces of the text that they don't understand, and summarize, all critical skills in building comprehension skills as kids read. All of our staff are learning on the same platform through the same methodology. And Diane and her team deserve a significant amount of credit, and the principals and their leadership, and the staff who are rolling up their sleeves doing this work. It is really, really impressive, and we're all confident that student achievement will continue to improve through these efforts. The staff are to be commended again for their very hard work in developing these instructional frameworks and through their professional learning. So very, very impressive work. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. All right, are there any items that people would like pulled from the consent agenda?
I'd like to pull 7.4.
All right. All right, do we have a motion to approve 7.1 through 7.3 and 7.5?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Member Moorhead, 7.4.
Well, again, we just can't let it go unsaid that the quality of people we're leaving with Paul Kendrick and Larry Teachy, and I can't pull up the names that...
Mark Smith.
Mark Smith. What is it, 90 years I was doing in my head of service to our district, and the quality of which you can always be replaced, but you just can't bring that history back with them, and especially Paul Kendrick, what he's done for the EMT program. And so I just wanted to make sure that we mention them and thank them, especially for all their years of service.
All right.
And I move to accept 7.4.
Second.
Any further discussion? No further discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, thank you. All right, donations. Member Odegaard.
Yes, start things out with $5,000 from the Hallberg Family Foundation to ISD 831 hockey program for Zamboni maintenance and other equipment needs. $200 from the Scandia Marine Lions to Scandia Elementary for negative lunch balances. $300 from Mary McGuire and Hugo to Wyoming Elementary for students unable to pay for school lunch. $150 from Forest Hills United Methodist Church to Forest Lake area schools to assist district family to get power reconnected. $1,800 from an anonymous donor to Forest Lake area schools family support for grocery gift cards for families in need. The next four donations are all for the Forest Lake area school staff to attend the school redesign conference, so I'll just say that once. It was $2,500 from Crick, O'Brien, Mueller and Associates in Inver Grove Heights. $2,500 for Martin Pevsner Engineering, $5,000 from the DLR Group, and $5,000 from ICS Consulting, Inc. in Blaine. So all generous donations from some familiar names we know very well with the work they've been doing in our school district. Last two, $150 from Farrah McPhee and Forest Lake to the Forest Lake School Age Care in honor of Judy Anderson to be used for supplies, and $306.61 from the Blue Line Club to the high school boys hockey team for partial payment of 2 coach bus trips. And with that, I move approval of all those donations.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
one of the things that came up at the Linwood conversation was a gentleman who had given some money and helped the schools, and we were talking about the donation list, and I brought it up that while we read them and the numbers are high, we never do a full edition of what it is each month that we read, and how much the community would be surprised at the money that people donate over and above what they're paying in their taxes for schools. So just food for conversation. We might want to do that every once in a while so that they see, and tonight would have been great. I mean, some of those numbers are pretty big.
Yep.
So just an idea.
All right, any further discussion? No further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, moving along. Old business. 9.1, approve bullying prohibition policy 541.
The purpose of this policy is to assist the school district in its goal of preventing and responding to acts of bullying, intimidation, violence, reprisal, retaliation, and other similar disruptive and detrimental and harmful behavior to each other and others in the school. The school board has reviewed this policy and is recommending no changes at this time, and administration recommends approval.
All right, do we have a motion to approve 9.1?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Moorhead?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Odegaard?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Olson votes aye.
All right. 9.2, approve crisis management policy 538.
And the purpose of this policy is to recognize the district's responsibility to provide a safe and secure environment for students, staff, parents, volunteers, community members, and visitors, and to ensure the district's preparedness in coordinating protective actions prior to, during, and after any type of emergency or potential crisis situation in the school district. The policy committee has reviewed this policy and is recommending no changes at this time.
All right, do we have a motion to approve 9.2?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
Member Odegaard?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Wilson votes aye, and Member Moorhead?
Aye.
All right. 9.3, approve employee right to know exposure to hazardous substances, policy 411.
And the purpose of this policy is to provide school district employees a place of employment and conditions of employment free from recognized hazards that are likely to cause death or serious injury or harm. And the MSBA model policy is recommending a couple of language changes. Most notable is the addition and some detail around bloodborne pathogens. And administration is recommending approval.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve 9.3?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, Member Clerk, please take a roll call.
Member Odegaard?
Aye.
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Wilson votes aye. Member Moorhead?
Aye.
And Member Peterson?
Aye.
All right. Thank you. 9.4, recommend award Linwood Elementary School bid, building demolition, addition, interior remodel, HVAC upgrade, site improvement work.
All right, so this item is related to the exciting presentation we just saw before and the work that is now scheduled. Obviously, to comply with bid laws and to obtain the best possible pricing, the district solicits sealed bids from and for multiple prime bids at Linwood Elementary. The project includes building demolition, addition, interior work, HVAC upgrades, and selected site work improvements over the course of that 2 summer and full school year of work. The construction manager for this project will be Kraus Anderson, and the engineer will be Martin Pesner, and the design work was done by Craig O'Brien, represented by Mark Du Bois. In compliance with the bid announcement, we posted publicly on December 28th and January 4th, and opened bids on January 18th. Kraus Anderson has reviewed those bids to spec those out and zero those in and select the low bid and appropriate bid for each of the elements of the project. And administration is recommending approval.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Just one question. What's going on with the fluid applied flooring. I mean, number one, what's fluid applied flooring? Is that just painted floors or, and there's no bids received?
I have to admit that was not in my superintendent training.
So maybe I can help out.
Thank you.
Fluid applied flooring is much like the floor we have in the field house out there, rubber type of floor a lot of times, or an epoxy floor. And it's a very specialized type of floor installation. And I'm surprised we didn't get any bids, but generally speaking, there's few companies that do it. And I'm sure Kraus Anderson has a couple they'll probably reach out to get some bids in the future.
Yeah. All right, any
Good to
further
know.
questions or comments? If not, Member Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Member Rayfield?
Aye.
Member Olson votes aye. Member Moorhead?
Aye.
Member Peterson?
Aye.
And Member Odegaard?
Aye.
All right. 10, new business. 10.1, first reading of the use of student records policy 505.
So we occasionally review this policy, and this policy's been reviewed by the policy committee. And it obviously pertains to all of the directory information and policies that govern record retention and use of student records and staff record and data obtained by the district. We are, as it relates to this policy, presenting to the board with really just one notable addition to this policy, and that's to add student email addresses or parent emails as directory information that could be shared if a data request were made of the district.
Okay. And then 10.2, first reading of the harassment and violence policy 425.
We have an annual review of this policy as well, and the school and the policy committee has reviewed this policy. The purpose of this policy is to maintain a learning and working environment that is free from harassment and violence on the basis of race, color, creed, religion, national origin, sex, gender, age, marital status, familial status, status with regard to public assistance, sexual orientation, or disability. And as I indicated, the policy committee has reviewed this policy and is recommending no changes at this time.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
And-
could I go back to 10.1?
Sure.
Have we addressed the issue of making sure that parents know exactly what is going to be kept, and that if they don't want something given out, they sign off on it? I think we had a little problem last year.
Yeah, we do that annually through our school newsletter that goes out annually to all students and their families of the district. They have the opportunity to consider their data private, so they would be placed on a list where we couldn't share that data. But I think what you're asking perhaps is, are we spelling out what is considered public data and making sure that that's clear?
Right.
And we'll make sure that that is effectively communicated.
And you're always going to have someone who misses it, but if we do our best to make that pretty obvious for people.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, be sure you understand the upcoming calendar dates, and do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If there's no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you, everyone.